Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome! You are tuned into my weekly syndicated talk radio TV show called Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get happy with Dr. Marissa every Tuesday at naturally high noon here out of the UBN Go studios in Burbank, California, and then rebroadcasting on my CNBC NBC station KCAA on AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and on demand everywhere that iHeartRadio is. And this is a show about hope and happiness. So there's no gossip and no scandal and no K words, no Kardashian talk at all. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. Why 88? Well, 100% of the time you'd be dead. We don't want that. 8 is a lucky number in Chinese. I know you thought I was Swedish. So 88 is a homonym for good fortune. So that is your birthright, and that's what this show is about. And I am so happy to tell you the most exciting news. Today marks 7 years on the air and on camera for this show. So that's 365 consecutive weeks on the air. And that means I've known my beloved Tony Sweet for that same time. And he's running the boards today. I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for you, my listening and watching audience, who have been incredibly supportive for these past 7 years. And keep it up. I am back. I'll be coming back every other week while I'm on book tour and on my Think and Grow Rich tour, which we'll tell you about in the Balance Bar. But you know that this little baby went number 1. And so that's why I have been on hiatus since the end of last year. But I had to come back because I have an amazing guest today. But I do want to just point out that peace in, peace out to Fox and Terry Tolliver on the East Coast, who did an amazing job putting me on Women's History Month special when I was in DC last month. And because of that, the book hit the 8th bestseller list. It's now number 1 Amazon, number 4 Denver Post, and then 6 other bestseller lists. So I'm so grateful, shishya, for that. So make sure you go to my pages to watch them again if you would like, or watch them for the first time and just celebrate 8 ways to happiness from wherever you are. And that's my mission now. 8 million people happy. That's my span of control over the rest of my life. And I hope that you are one of them. Please do join my happy family. Go to drmarissa.life. But now, I couldn't think of a better way to come back on the air. I wasn't even planning on it, didn't realize that I was going on my anniversary, and I got a beautiful email from Harlan, who I love, and I just found out he also loves me, my favorite publicist, and he offered up someone who you're going to recognize, and you're going to think you're going to seeing ghosts, but he really does look like his father. But just a little bit of an introduction. You do remember Richard Pryor, and he could make me laugh so hard. And it does seem to be true what they say about comedians. They come from a world of hurt, generating the humor, finding out how colorful his life was, married to a total of 5 women 7 times and had 7 kids with 6 women. So no wonder he's quoted with saying, "I believe in the institution of marriage and I intend to keep trying until I get it right." Well, it appears that the apple does not fall far from the tree. Richard Pryor Jr. is his number 1 firstborn son, and his life has paralleled in some way his famous father's, and we're about to hear how that is survival from addiction, abuse, but I'm not going to give away your story. He was born in Peoria, Illinois, and on April 10th, 1962, at only 6 months of age, the firstborn son and his wife, Patricia Watts, had to stay in the hospital for several weeks until he reached 5 pounds. He was so small. So he's come a long way. His new book, In a Pryor Life, talks about the years since then. And welcome to the studio, Richard Pryor Jr.
Thank you for having me.
It is my blessing.
I'm so glad to be here.
Yes, it is so wonderful to have you. And if you see him, there's no doubt.
Yeah, I scare myself sometimes.
Do you?
If you go in a dark room at night, go to the bathroom or something, you turn on the light, it's like sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. Do people mistake you for?
Well, sometimes I'll get, especially, I live in New York City, so I'll get where people on the subway or something, they'll just do this stare. They don't know what to say or what it is. They say, I know this person from somewhere. Mm-hmm. And they can't figure it out, and it doesn't really click. Every once in a while, you get somebody that'll click. Oh, okay.
Right,
yeah.
right,
Your name's
right,
Richard, isn't
right,
it? Yeah.
Right,
so, yeah.
right. So what was it like? Did you feel like you were growing up under a shadow?
Ooh, that's a interesting question. There were times in my life when I definitely felt that, without a doubt. Mm-hmm. It was more so when I became older. When I was younger, I didn't really feel that at all. I think it was when you try to get your wings, and also when my dad became more famous.
Right.
That intensified.
Right.
So it definitely, when I was older, I definitely felt under a shadow, under a microscope all the time, mm-hmm. And that's part of my journey, though. Right,
absolutely. Our past is definitely a little bit paralleled that way in reading about yours. So a little history lesson. Your father, Richard Pryor, married your mother, Patricia Watts.
Right.
And they were married for a year or a little more.
Well, they were together married for quite a few years, contrary to what Wikipedia says.
Right.
Because they didn't actually really divorce until later on. I know my dad wanted to get married and things like that, so they actually divorced. But they weren't together very long. They were together maybe a year, and he went on the road, said he would be gone 3 months, and it was like 3 years later.
Oh, wow.
And by that time, he had already made it and established himself as an entertainer.
How did they meet?
They met in Peoria, Illinois. My mother moved to Peoria, Illinois when she was, I think, 12 or 13, from a small town called Louisiana, Missouri. Mm. And they moved up. Her father and mother and siblings moved up to Peoria for better opportunity, mm-hmm. because it was a big city. Moving from Louisiana to there, and she was there, and then she ran into my father
at a dance.
I believe it was at a pool hall. Uh-huh. My great grandparents ran a pool hall.
Cool.
And they met and.
Fell in
love. My mother, head over heels. She always had a knack for picking the wrong guy.
Uh-oh.
So it was, but I wouldn't be here if they hadn't met.
That's right. That's right. They did the best that they could,
yes,
right?
Yes. Oh, definitely, without a doubt.
So wrong guy. So your dad's life, very colorful. Mm-hmm. I honestly, I like the positive. My middle name is Pollyanna. So I was kind of surprised. I also don't listen to the news because it depresses me. Right. So I missed and I don't do gossip. But is what they say true? All of the drug abuse, the Marlon Brando affair, all of that?
Except for the Marlon Brando thing.
Okay.
I think that was exasperated through his wife. I call her quote unquote wife, but that's another story. But I feel that a lot of things were said and pushed along just to keep someone relevant in the news and everything. Mm-hmm. So I think that was what that was.
Okay.
I don't believe that. But the other things my dad has talked about, because he's always talked about his downfalls and his mishaps, and good and bad, he's always shared those things.
Okay.
So there was nothing that was out there that he said that you had to say, I wonder if it's true or not, because he truly told on himself.
Okay.
Good or bad.
So he was honest about that.
Oh, yeah, he was totally honest.
Did he ever have a sit down with you and say, son, don't do what I did?
Well, I think when you're in your addiction, you giving advice it's not always the right advice that you're giving.
Mm-hmm.
I think because you're caught up into your own mess and your own cesspool and everything,
Right.
it's hard for you to tell someone else what's right from wrong. I know my dad at times did when I would reach out to him when I was struggling with the same things.
Mm-hmm.
His response was, we'll get you help, and in a very calm manner, totally opposite of what I was expecting.
Right.
But then realizing, looking back, said that's probably all he could do because he was suffering at the exact same time.
Exact same time. What do you think his demons were? And then we'll get to your demons.
I think his demons, I think a lot of it derived from his upbringing and the things that he went through, the sexual abuse, all those things that, coupled along with the lifestyle, that my dad's side of the family were in. My great-grandmother was a madam. His dad, my grandfather, was a pimp, and, his mom was a prostitute. And then the whole family, they were bootleggers and all that. So I think all that contributed to who you are and what you're doing, and also the career you chose.
Right.
You're in that path and in the limelight, and everything is easily accessible to you. It's hard to say no to a lot of things.
Right.
And I think you get caught up in the things you're saying, let me just do this, it'll ease the tension. But then you look back and 8 years later, you're still in that same place, but worse than you were before.
Right. Chasing chasing the happy.
Yeah.
So is that what happened to you? Your upbringing too?
Most definitely. I went through a period when I was really young, being molested. And in my book, I talk about, Uncle Fingers and the things I had to endure with that. And it was a thing, I think, where it was so hurtful for me when I got older because it was a thing no one did anything. Even though some of the people knew what had happened.
Because you opened your mouth.
Right. There was no repercussions. And then they even saw, what was going on and still never said anything. So when you're that young, you think it's okay.
Right.
Those things are okay. And then I had several cousins that molested me as well. I went through that period during that time. So I think when you get older in life, you try to find something, whether it's fitting in with the peers or something, but then you try to numb what you've gone through.
Right.
And then that takes a whole different direction, adds even more things onto you.
Right.
But then when you get older in life, when you're sitting there and you're still doing those same things, there comes a time when you have to look back and say, I can't blame them for what I'm doing right now because I'm doing it to myself. They've gone on about their life and doing their own thing, and they don't even realize how they've affected you.
Yes.
What can you do to turn yourself around?
Brilliant.
Your life around.
Brilliant.
So that's the process I had to go through.
Beautiful. Yeah, that is definitely, I think, the solution to the 7 out of 10 of us that have gone through some kind of childhood trauma is that, if it's the majority of us, that means there's nothing wrong with us. If that's what the majority of us go through, there's nothing wrong with us. It's something that has chiseled us, but at that turning point, we at some point have to say, okay, it happened. They did the best that they could. Now, how am I doing this stuff to myself?
Right.
And that's that turning point that gives you a life, me a life, and a brand new way of moving around in the world.
Oh, totally.
Right?
Oh,
right?
definitely.
It's not what happened to you, it's what happened for you.
Right.
And I loved it when I read that, that's you realize that that's part of your work now.
Yeah, it was really strange because when I first started the book, it meant one thing to me. By the time I was finishing the book, it was a totally different direction because I had my spiritual journey had changed as far as the way my outlook on things and the things I wanted to do in life and the things I wanted to achieve in life and the people I wanted to reach in life and say things to about the struggle that you go through in life and how you don't allow that to dictate your life and how to get out of that.
Right.
And a lot of it deals with self-love.
Yes.
Because if you don't do that, you can't love anyone else. You don't love yourself enough to even try to do better.
True.
And it's like taking old skin off and shedding that old skin to become a new person and a better person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I can tell from the look on your face that you've gone through a lot of alchemy. Is what I would call it. But it's kind of like the peeling of the not the onion. I've never liked that saying. I do not understand what is so good about the inside of an onion, and
it's
it makes
still
you
bad
cry.
once you
Exactly.
get there,
So
yeah.
artichoke. We are peeling the artichoke because there's a heart in the middle,
Right.
and there's a little bit of goopy good stuff on the
Yes,
way.
I love that.
Yeah. So okay. So your mom still was in love with your dad.
Yes.
And then he kind of left. I saw some of the divorce papers, and he actually wanted to take you,
Yeah.
according to the papers,
Yeah.
and said that she was an unfit mother.
Yeah, it's like when you read that, you kind of cringe because especially when you know actually the truth of what
Right.
happened. What had actually happened was that my dad left. He said he would be gone 3 months, and it was 3 years later. And it was almost like, well, I guess she's supposed to just sit here and wait for a phone call or something. So my mother went on with her life. And she ended up in another relationship, and she had my sister, got pregnant with my sister. And my father had a stepsister who worked in the hospital and got the records that my mother gave birth to a child.
Okay.
And then they used that, saying that she committed adultery
Got it.
against her, versus saying that, no, haven't been here, because we know, especially knowing my dad now, that there's no way that he was going 3 years without being intimate with someone, as far as the life's concerned. I don't think it was a thing so much of what he really wanted to do at the time. I think he was still under the things of family saying, you need to do this because you're becoming somebody now, and they're going to take from you, and they want this from you. And my mother was never like that. But what I think it was that his family, they were opportunists, and they were all about money. If you come out of a line of prostitutes and bootleggers and all that, you're about the Benjamin,
Right. Right.
And I think that's what they were seeing in their eyes,
Okay.
that someone
Okay.
can take something from us that
Right.
should rightfully be ours.
Right,
Yeah.
right. That totally makes sense. And if you've just tuned in and you're wondering why I'm talking to someone that looks an awful lot like Richard Pryor, it's because I am talking to Richard Pryor Jr., the firstborn son of the late, great comedian. And you're tuned in to Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get happy with Dr. Marissa. And let's go back here to... So your relationship with your dad, difficult, easy, changed? Did you, were you mad at him?
I would say all of those things I went through
Okay.
at one point or another in my life. I think as we all do
Yeah.
with our parents. There's,
Yes.
there's a period where, your parents are the best thing since sliced bread. I think you go through a period where, especially like the teen years, where you think that you know everything, and you're an adult, and when you're a young adult, you really think you know everything, that no one can tell you anything. I know exactly what I'm doing because I'm grown now.
Right. I've got
And you
two
go-
recovering
Yeah.
teenage girls.
So you go through that period of life,
Yeah.
and then you go through the thing where when you're becoming a man, and you want to be your own person. So you go through those struggles with the father, because sometimes a parent doesn't want to detach that fact that you're an adult, and you go through those periods of life.
So it was like a normal father-son.
Normal father-son things. But, I tell people, I said, my father wasn't a perfect father, but he was the best father he knew how to be. Because you have to look what he came out of.
Yeah.
When you have a family that their appreciation for you or showing you gratitude and love was to give you monetary things versus the hug
Affection.
or the kiss and the affection. So those are things my father had to learn. And those are things we all have to learn through life if we've never had those things.
Right.
Sometimes we have to learn a new road, a new direction in life as far as it
Right.
goes. So we had our ups and downs, but it was never anything where he didn't want to be a part of my life, where, we would go years without speaking. The only time we actually did that was when my dad's wife separated us and didn't allow the children to have contact with him. So I went for 6 years without being able to see him. His last 6 years of his life, I wasn't able to see him until 11 months before he passed.
Wow.
So that was a difficult period. That was the most
Yeah.
difficult period I went through with dealing with my dad, because during that time period I lost my mother, who really loved my dad, and they talked all the time. And so me having to seeing my dad after 6 years, having to tell him that my mother had passed, and this is what's going on in life, and to see, because he can no longer speak, but to see everything in his eyes, his eyes would well up with, and tears and all that. And, letting him know how much I loved him and cared for him. But then knowing when I left there, I knew within my spirit it was the last time I would see him alive.
That's tough. Yeah. I had another guest who had a similar experience. Do you remember Casey Kasem?
Yes.
Yeah. His daughter, Carrie, was also in that situation, not allowed to see her
I've
dad.
been told the same thing. I've heard someone else mention that regarding one of his children.
Yeah.
Had to endure that. It's a
It's
horrible
tough.
thing.
It is a horrible thing. But the good news is you did get to see him. And, one of my things is in my chapter 2, Out of Loss into Faith, is to remember them whole.
Yes.
And there's a lot of him to remember.
Yeah.
Was he ever surprised at the level of success that he got to?
I think my father truly, especially even, it's going to sound weird, but even after his passing, if he could look back, I think he would be shocked at the accolades, how people thought about him, how people cared about him. Mm-hmm. Because deep down inside, he was still that little boy from Peoria, Illinois, who achieved greatness. But you're still that introvert, and you're still, that part of you is still
He was
the
an
little
introvert?
boy. Yeah.
Wow.
That part of you is still that little boy.
Right.
And so I think a lot of times when we go through life, even though we're doing this and we're successful, those things still plague us, or still part of us as far as who we are, until we can learn how to shed those things off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Sounds like you went through that too.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yes. So your past career has been very multifaceted.
Oh, definitely.
Tell us some of the highlights or your
Oh, my
favorites.
gosh. The military. I was in the military for a while.
Before the Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
Before the Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And that was a learning experience. When you're, told, you're out at sea and you're told to get your things together, and, you're being discharged, not dishonorably, but you're being discharged, and then really not knowing why you're being discharged. That was the thing that was like kind of baffling to me, because the only thing I was told through a friend of mine who was still in the service, they were told when I got back to the land, on a base at land in Jacksonville, that treat Richard Pryor with kid gloves. So it was something I think they were concerned about the way I was dismissed, and they didn't want to cause a media
Hullabaloo.
uproar or something like that. So it was like try to keep it quiet. And
Do you think
all
it
those
was
things.
because of your sexual orientation?
Oh yeah,
for sure?
I think without a doubt that
Okay.
we had a lot of people on our ship that we had our own little group and our own little clique, our own little newspaper with code words for everybody. So we would talk about all these things, and somehow we found out later through a guy that was in our group was actually worked for the military. So he was out in the open.
Okay.
And he would do everything, but then share everything that everyone else did.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
he was doing what he was paid to do. So
Right.
I think those were the things, even though it was a thing that it was always a denial, once they had that information, I think it was like, no.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and then after that, actually, when I was in the military, I started out doing lip syncing. And then I got
read
back to
that.
Virginia, then I ended up doing female impersonating. So
Who were you?
My stage name was Rainy McKnight.
Wow. Who would you impersonate?
I did back then when I first started. I was doing Dreamgirls, so I was doing, and I'm telling you, I'm not going from Jennifer Holliday from Dreamgirls. That was like my
Okay.
big thing.
Uh-huh.
And I would do numbers, like ballads, but I would twist things around. No one ever knew what I was going to do.
Okay.
Because I was very theatrical in everything that I did. So you weren't going to get just a normal person standing up lip syncing. You were going to get a variety of
Right.
things.
Did your dad ever
shock
watch
value.
you?
No, he never did.
He
My
never
mother saw me perform, but my
Okay.
dad never saw me perform.
Okay.
I did that, and then I was a ordained minister.
Boy, that's
went-
going from one side to the other.
Went that, and was married and had my child and all that stuff. So I went through that period.
Okay.
Then I went to the period where I wanted nothing to do with church at all or anything like that. And then, working my the regular jobs, telecommunications, and all those things that I did throughout the years.
Right.
And then after my mother and father died, I actually say this a lot, that my mother's death gave me life. Because if my mother was still around, I'd be laying underneath her being coddled instead of branching out and being what I wanted to do and stepping outside of that fear.
So
and
you
all
were a
those
mama's
things.
boy.
Total mama's boy.
Okay.
So I moved to New York and started performing. I moved there with $300 to my name
Wow.
and said I want to make it work, and I never stopped.
Oh, that's so cool.
And
That's
full
so cool.
circle, now I'm back into ministry once again. And actually, which is a weird question, I tell people this and they're like kind of shocked, is that my ex-wife is my pastor now. And we're like extremely good friends.
Okay.
And it shows you how that you can think things are negative, but when you're allowed to move yourself out of the way with certain things that you can't control and situations, how things can mend and things can come together that you thought would never come together.
Yes.
And then you can be prosperous in everything that you're doing in life, every facet of life. That's in your mind, body, and soul.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Amen to that. I say a year knows what a day doesn't.
Oh, that's really good. That's true.
I wish I made it up, but I didn't.
Yeah.
That's okay. I don't know who did,
Yeah,
but so I'll take credit for
Take
now.
credit. Yeah.
But that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So, and you had a little stint in the business,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Color Purple.
Yeah, I did production on the Color Purple, and I've worked on production of some of my dad's films. And I've done, in the last, 9-10 years, I've done quite a few independent films and things like that. So I've always stayed in the mix. I'm a MAC-nominated cabaret performer out of New York City.
Wow.
So I do cabaret and sing and all those things and stage plays and all those things that complete us. You know, a lot of people say, well, you know, they're not successful. And I think a lot of times success is what you're doing that you love.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you make $5 off of it or $5 million off of it, if it's something that you truly love, you're satisfied regardless how it goes in a monetary sense. Yeah.
Yes. I use Emerson's definition of success: to laugh often and much.
Yes.
To know that one life has breathed easier because we have lived.
Yes.
So you are successful.
Truly.
We've already laughed.
Yes. Yes.
Beautiful. So the animosity that I hear, which is another story, but just what would you you have siblings and
Right.
half siblings,
Right.
and then you have one wife that you said you went like this
Yeah.
for his wife. What's that all that about?
Well, I think it was a thing with, you know, if you have someone that keeps you from your parent or child, I think it's really detrimental and it's really hurtful. You know, when you go into your father's home and he used to have a mantle with his family, the pictures of the kids and all those things, and all of a sudden you see none of those things around anymore. It was like we were removed from his life, and
What?
and it was just a horrible thing. It was power.
Was
When
it?
you got someone
Okay.
that, you know, wants power and wants control of everything.
Is this the one that he married twice?
Yeah,
I know two
yeah,
he
the-
married
this
twice.
Is, yeah,
okay.
this is the Jennifer Lee.
Okay.
So it was a very difficult thing to go through, and even after his death, the things that you know, she wanted to do a biography of him, but not wanting the kids to be a part of that. How can you tell a story about his life without getting the input from his family?
Right.
When you're the only one doing it. So that's why I was like, well, it's not going to be an accurate story. It's going to be her story
Right.
versus his story.
Yeah.
But also in growing and learning and writing this book, a lot of times we keep things that people do to us. We keep those things inside, and we have that animosity and that hurt, and it stunts us from growing.
Absolutely.
It's like taking a vine and wrapping it around that plant.
Yeah.
It starts to strangle that plant,
Yeah.
and you have to cut that vine off in order for that plant to nourish and grow.
Yeah.
So you either have a direction. You can either go in the direction where someone else is controlling your journey, or where you want to control your journey.
Yeah.
And I chose, after quite a few years, that I wanted to control my journey. I didn't want anyone else to be able to dictate how I live my life and how I move forward. So I had to release a lot of that. Whether or not she received it or not, I had to do it for my sanity to go on with my
Sure.
life.
Sure.
You know, I don't agree with everything she does and the way she does it, but I'm no longer allowing that to motivate my mind and to dictate my mind and what I do in my actions.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Anger and hostility
Right.
are the two things that'll keep your body sick.
Right.
So I'm getting the signal. It is time to go and thank the sponsors who make this show possible. We'll be back in 2 and 2. This is Dr. Marissa with Richard Pryor Jr. on Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced or get happy. We'll be back in 2 and 2. Peace in, peace out. That's world peace through inner peace. Love films? Then come to the Newport Beach Film Festival, a prestigious multicultural event attracting over 55,000 attendees and screening over 350 films in 8 days. Orange County's largest entertainment event will run April 25th to May 2nd, and yours truly, Dr. Marissa, will be introducing the Chinese Spotlight film May 1st with a fabulous celebration following. For the best in new, local, international, and critically acclaimed cinema, sign up at newportbeachfilmfest.com. And we are back. You are tuned into my weekly syndicated talk radio TV show called Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get happy with Dr. Marissa every Tuesday at naturally high noon at UBN Go in Burbank, California, broadcasting live here and then. The replay is on my syndicated CNBC, NBC News Radio channel, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and then everywhere on demand on iHeartRadio. And you can also find all of my past shows on iTunes, as well as free subscribe on my YouTube channel. And I do have a red carpet playlist there where you'll see my interviews with John Travolta and Halle Berry and Quincy Jones and a whole host of other super interesting people, as well as all of the past guests on my show, from Layla Ali, Muhammad Ali's daughter, to Marianne Williamson, to Marianne from Gilligan's Island. And excited also to announce that I just won another award for this show for the specific, thank you, the 200th show with Michael Bernard Beckwith, Neil Donald Walsh, and Bishop Carlton. We won a Visionary Cover Award, which will be awarded in Denver. So thank you so much for the vote. Yeah. And peace in, peace out. Also to my students, my Power Chi students. I just came from an Agape International Spiritual Center spring retreat where we got to do forms of a moving meditation that promotes inner peace one breath at a time. And a special thank you to my big brother, Michael Bernard Beckwith, who changed the trajectory of my life 10 years ago. And as a result, this is the show. And Neil Donald Walsh for predicting this little book on the 200th show. So we are here with a guest that brought me back onto the air, and his name is Richard Pryor Jr. And he has been telling us a fascinating true story about his life and what it was like growing up with his dad and without his dad,
Right.
and being a mama's boy, and finding himself through all kinds of things. Are you still connected to your half siblings?
Oh yeah, I know in the African American community, you don't usually hear the words half siblings or step or anything like that. If they're in your family, they're your brothers and sisters. So
Okay.
that's the way I've always looked at my siblings.
Okay.
I've never looked at, I have 5 brothers and sisters on my dad's side, and then I have 3 sisters on my mother's side.
Okay.
And they're all just my sisters and brothers. But yeah, I'm close to all of them and speak to them. I'm extremely close to my sister Rain on my dad's side. I'm really, really close to her. We speak on a daily basis and things like that. And she's been in the business for years. So
Right.
it's a good thing to be able to talk to her and bounce things back off and
Sure.
know what to expect and all those kind of things because
Sure.
my journey is new for me.
Right. Now, did you all like try to figure out how to get past Jennifer?
Well, we've tried those things, but nothing's been successful when you have that the person is using your father's wealth to fight against you for anything. There's things that we can't do when we
Right.
don't have the funds to do it.
Right.
And you can't fight against things like that.
Yeah.
But it's sad that you have a woman who is with him that has rights to his name and likeness, and knowing that if she really wanted to, she could stop anything that you did in regards to your father. It's kind of hurtful. And but you still have to do your own thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing of me even writing the book. It was like I had to speak my truth.
Yeah.
It's my truth.
Right.
And that's something that no one can ever take away. It's my truth.
Absolutely. Right. And you discovered that, resentment is that, like they say, drinking the poison, expecting the other person. My version of that is I hate you so much I don't want to look at you, so I'm going to poke out my own eye, which is kind of silly.
Yeah.
So let's not do that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's good. She's going to have to bump into herself at some point.
Yeah.
But you don't have to make her do it.
Right.
And
Definitely.
have discovered
I no longer
that's
have
a
dreams of taking a red eye out to L.A. to murder her. Those
That's
things
a
are
good
gone
thing.
now. Yeah,
That's
those
a
are
good
gone
thing.
now.
It's all gone.
Yeah,
it's all gone. And it was a dream. It was a dream. Let's be clarify that.
Yeah, God forbid something actually happened.
Yeah. Let's not go there. You did not hear that here.
Yeah.
Where can people pick up this book?
My book could be, you can go to my website, pryorlife.com. It'll have all the links as far as where to purchase a book and my interviews. You can also go to Amazon or to the publisher, bearmanormedia.com, as far as looking for the book.
Beautiful. And when did it get released?
It was released, we had it first released on March the 3rd.
Okay,
And then
very
it was
recently.
officially released on April the 10th through Amazon.
Oh, great.
So it's doing quite well from
Good.
what I'm understanding. So
Great.
I'm just excited about it. I'm excited about the next chapter of my life after this book.
Yeah.
So that's what's really exciting me.
So, and your wife is now your pastor.
My
your
ex-wife?
ex-wife is
Yeah.
now your pastor.
Yeah.
And I see a wedding ring.
No, actually,
that's not a wedding ring.
Actually,
Okay.
this ring was my mother's.
Oh.
This was my mother's wedding
Still a
band.
mama's boy.
And it was my great grandmother, my dad's grandmother, gave this to my mother, and it was her ring. So this ring was my great grandmother, so it's extremely old. But when my mother passed away, I received it.
It's a beautiful ring.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
it.
So, what would you tell people who are maybe struggling with some of the demons from their past, what their parents or their uncle or their cousins did with them? What your dad went through as well, people doing the best that they could, but not really great stuff. How would you say someone who's listening right now can start the healing process?
Well, I think one of the things is surrounding yourself with people who are positive, who want the better goals in life and the better things in life. Not monetary, but I'm talking about just their journey as far as the way they walk and think about themselves. I think you have to do an internal investigation of yourself to try to pinpoint and find out why you're doing the things that you did and what made you do this, what made those things get a grip onto you. And then working on trying to shed those things,
Right.
whether it's spiritually, whether it's through a religious organization, whether it's through therapy or whatever it takes for you to be able to get those things out, those things that hurt you, those things that harmed you,
Right.
in order to start to heal yourself. Because if you don't heal yourself, you can't love yourself.
Right.
And if you don't love yourself, you're never going to do what you need to do in order to be a better person in your life for yourself.
Right.
And I think we need to learn to do that and be able to share about mental illness, those things that we go through and the hurt and the pain and the struggles we go through.
Yeah.
Get those things off your mind, talking about those things.
Right.
Those, you start to have the weight fall off after that.
Yeah.
And then you say, wait, I am a good person. I can love myself.
Yeah.
And once you do that, I think a lot of things open up that you've never seen. It's like walking out, being blind and walking out, and all of a sudden you can see colors again for the first time.
Right.
And becoming a better person in life. And then you can show love to someone else truly. And that's when that right person you connect with will be there. Until then, it's not going to happen in your life. But I think that's a journey. And also a journal, if you're into that. You know, writing down things, writing down your feelings, doing something creative that you like in life that makes you feel good.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Actually, Deepak Chopra says that the 3 things that make our bodies healthy are love, peace, and creativity. So
great.
isn't that interesting? The third one is a surprise to me.
Yeah.
But what you're talking about, doing something that you love doing, in your case, your cabaret and your acting and singing.
Right.
It's for you. It's
For
not for
me.
anybody else.
Right. It's definitely for me. Right.
That's beautiful.
Without a doubt.
So I usually ask my guests one last question. So you can take a breath.
Okay.
And I didn't tell you ahead of time because I just like doing that.
Okay. Dun, dun, dun.
So, yeah. So what's the meaning of life? No, I'm kidding. What or who are you most grateful to or for? What or who are you most grateful to or for?
My mother.
I had a feeling I should have taken a bet on that.
Yeah. My mother, and it's because my mother, through all the things I've gone through in life, she's always been there. But also my mother kept me grounded. The times when I would go to Hollywood and, you know, have housekeepers and maids and all those things that were around, you know, coming home to a mom that makes you take out the garbage, makes you wash dishes and do those things and keeping me humble. I love the fact that I could have a meal with anybody, with a dignitary, or I can have a meal with someone who doesn't have anything. And I can treat them the exact same way. So I thank my mother for giving me that part of her, that gift that was a part of her for myself.
Beautiful. And your dad, anything, what could you thank him for?
I could thank my dad for telling me to always treat people with respect. I never heard, other than his drug use, you never hear on a movie set or anything like that where he was rude to people, where he was nasty, where he was a horrible human being. And I think I learned that from him, always treating people with respect and the way you want to be treated. And just showing love to people. Yeah. You know, no matter what your love is at that time, but being able to show love to people and being able to admit your faults and your mistakes. I think that's an important thing in life. I learned from my father.
You did learn that.
Yeah.
So he was a good example of that.
A good example of that, because he always spoke his truth.
Right,
you know?
right. What would you say to him if he were in the room right now?
I would first tell him how much I love him, and that, Dad, you were the best dad you know how to be. You did the best you could. I don't fault you for anything. I love you more than life. And we all, at the end, just wanted to be around you and be a part of you. And I'm sorry we weren't able to do that.
But you were.
But we were.
But you were.
Right.
But you were. And I'll give you a little visual that I got with my dad, who's with him right now, and they're probably doing this right now, is they're around a big screen TV. And they're watching us right now and cheering us on.
Oh, that's awesome.
From there. And watching us live our lives.
That's an awesome thing.
And I know he's so proud of you.
Thank you
and
so
what
much.
you're
It's
doing.
awesome.
I know that.
As your dad is too.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. And that is all the time we have. I'm so glad that I got to know you here in studio live. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. A great moment.
Absolutely. This is Richard Pryor Jr. My celebration of 7 years on the air, on camera, and I'm so grateful that he was able to come and celebrate that with me. And as usual, at the end of a show, I like to invite you all to come step up to my balance bar. Thank you, Tony. It sounds more like Tinkler, whatever her name is. So anyways, to celebrate my 7 years and to thank you for continuing to support with love and encouragement and likes and giving me the finger, thumbs up everywhere that you do. I'm giving away 7, because it's 7 years, 7 life happiness discovery sessions. And each one of those is valued at $180. So the first 7 to go and text, it is... let's see if I remember, 38470, and you text Happy 88. So one word, no space. So to 38470, text Happy 88, and it'll give you a link to the website, drmarissa.life. You can hit or sign up for a free happy tip sheet and then schedule a happy discovery session with me. And I love it. Richard Pryor Jr. is going to take me up on that offer. He's telling his assistant to go type now. Text right now. So that's fabulous. I would like to also invite you tomorrow. I will be down at the Newport Beach Film Festival, and I'm so grateful. This is my 4th, I think, year sponsoring the Chinese Spotlight film. Greg Schwenk, the founder and executive director, gave me an Asian Oprah giveaway, which is already gone, sorry. But you can still get tickets. It's an amazing, you get a movie, a Chinese movie with subtitles, don't worry, and then a huge gala. We always have amazing entertainment, free booze, free food, and then lion dancing and Korean drums and Chinese dancers. And so you'll have to come. That's tomorrow night, NewportBeachFilmFestival.com, and use China 5 to get a discount on those tickets. I'll be there on the red carpet. Come and take a picture with me. And then on Friday, I get to be on stage at the Anaheim Convention Center with the amazing Think and Grow Rich World Tour launch. 2 days of amazing world-class speakers. We've got Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank. We've got Marshall Falk, NFL MVP. We've got John Shin, the executive producer of the Think and Grow Rich Legacy movie, and also the producer of this fabulous tour. He also calls me his little sister. So I've got 2 big brothers, and he actually just published a book, the Asian version of Think and Grow Rich, because there was a woman one and a Latin one and a black one. It's time for us we're not all crazy rich Asians, but there are how Asians think and grow rich. And that book, I'm in chapter 1. So you'll have to come and pick up that book as well. I'll be signing books, my 8 Ways to Happiness, from wherever you are. 2 days, and you still get a discount if you use my promo code. Go to tgrworldtour.com, use DRM, you'll get $200 off, or I think there still might be a 2-for-1, so 1 ticket for 2 days of amazing self and wealth development, as well as entertainment from the dance crew Poriotics, as well as the Jets from the 80s, so you have to go. So it's tgrworldtour.com, use DRM, Dr. Marissa, DRM 2-for-1 or DRM, and you'll get discounts for that. Thursdays, I do call-ins. You know how much I love to do call-ins. So every Thursday, I broadcast live out of Kansas City, Missouri. No, I do not fly back. Technology, thank you. So call in. The number, write it down, 816-251-3555. Every Thursday at noon. So I'm on Tuesday at noon and Thursday at noon. No excuses to connect with me. I give you advice on that show that I don't often take. But the name of that show is actually Don't Worry, Choose Happy. So that's Thursday. And big news, I will be back. I'm out of hiatus. With my schedule, though, I cannot do every week, but I will be here every other week until I drop from exhaustion. And we already have in the lineup coming up Noel Lee, Monster Company, the CEO of that. He will be a guest coming up, as well as Bill Duke from Terminator. Is it Terminator or Apocalypse? The 40 years of movies and producing and directing. He's going to be on my show as well. So this will be my guest show. So keep it tuned here, and know that I so appreciate and so am happy that you continue to support me in this splattering of more hope and happiness to all of you. Remember, last thing, Mondays, Facebook people, every Monday at 10 a.m., I do a Facebook Live, so join me there. It's free, and just tune in. It's called Monday is the New Friday series. So I know, yes, I am trying to make you drink the Kool-Aid, but life is way too short to be miserable. Stop believing the BS, the belief system that says life sucks. Life does not suck. Life is an amazing joyride, and I want you on that ride with me. Thank you so much again for tuning in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa and get happy with Dr. Marissa. It is all about balance. Peace in, peace out. That's world peace through inner peace.